It's Friday. Hello and welcome to Election Brief. My name is Arba Kumsin, and coming up, Convention People's Party asks both governing MPP and opposition NDC to cease the attacks on the Peace Council as the country prepares for the December polls.
That these two major political parties, NDC and MPP, they are in power. The one who is in opposition accuses the very person who is in power. And the one in power is always in support of whatever is happening.
Also in this edition, Ghana Association of Assembly Members split heads over former President Mahama's promise to pay them if voted into power. We'll listen to the arguments for and against the promise. Also, Ghana Anti-Corruption Coalition launches what it calls Citizens Anti-Corruption Manifesto to serve as a basis for conversations on potential anti-corruption reforms. We'll speak to them to appreciate what the Corruption Manifesto seeks to achieve. We are live from our studios here at Kokomeme on DSTV channel 421, GoTV 144, and streaming live on myjoyonline.com. Stay with us. Thanks for staying with us. Now, members of the Ghana Association of Assembly Members continue to remain divided over former President John Dramani's pledge to pay them when voted into power. Recently, a group calling itself Concerned Assembly Members Association welcomed Mr. Mahama's promise, arguing that they would stand by any candidate who makes their welfare a priority. Meanwhile, the Ashanti and the Greater Accra Caucus of the Assembly members are also asking their members to ignore the promise. So why is their front divided? Let's go on to Zoom because the two sides join us with their perspectives. David Atachum is the president of the Concerned Assembly Members, and Stephen Kwesi Akwa is a member of the Greater Accra Association of Assembly Members, and they both join me via Zoom. Good afternoon to you, gentlemen.
Good afternoon.
Good. Now, let me start with you, Mr. Chum. Why do you believe the promise would change the fortunes of Assembly members?
Thank you very much. I would like to say good afternoon to your viewers. We believe that 28 years of going into our fourth republic and our existence as people, we believe that the time has come that for Assembly members to be carried along when it comes to motivations, when it comes to giving of allowances. So after the 2019 district level elections, we decided to form an association that will pursue the welfare of Assembly members. So in the process of our formation, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama came out with a policy that he intends to pay Assembly members when given the mandate. Per our calculation and our assessment, we thought it wise that this has come at the right time of our formation. So let's support the policy. So to us, we believe, and we strongly believe that the time has come for Assembly members to be pulled along in the system of governance. So yes, we have our bet on it that when given the mandate, indeed, Assembly members are going to have monthly allowance like His Excellency John Dramani Mahama has promised. You see, not with the promises alone. He has given a clear-cut guidelines as to how he's going to pay Assembly members. What he said that he's going to amend the death and birth registry so that it will pave way for Assembly members for us to be updating it consistently from our electoral areas as at when the need be. So the money that we are going to generate, we are going to be given some fair share of it. Again, he said, as compared to his previous administration, he was having 84 ministers. As we speak, the current administration is having 125 ministers. He was having 668 presidential staffers. As we speak, the current administration is having 1,600 plus presidential staffers. So what he is saying that when given the mandate, he's going to make sure that he's going to cut down the number of ministers, cut down the number of presidential staffers, and presume that those money that will be coming from as a result of the cutting down of these ministers and presidential staffers, he channel it into the payment of monthly allowances for Assembly members.
All right, Mr. Chum.
We believe that
Mr. Chum, Let me just ask, what do you make of those who say that the former president is just taking advantage of the political season to score cheap political points? Because these are the similar promises he made in 2016 prior to the 2016 December polls.
Like people normally say, opinions are like noses. And I would never begrudge someone if he has a counter opinion. But my point is, per the proposal, policy direction that, per the argument he is putting across, are they challenging? Are they asking that indeed assembly members does not deserve a monthly allowance? No, they are not challenging that. Now come back to 2016. You see, in our press conferences, we've been consistent. We keep on saying that we don't want to recall what previous administration or the current administration has promised assembly members. Local governance in 2016 manifesto of Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, His Excellency, he did promise that he will make sure that assembly members' allowance are better off. Ask them, as a stand now, if you are better off when it comes to our sitting our allowances. So would I say that if Nana Addo comes out that, okay, I'm going to make sure that in my next government, assembly members are being paid from the consolidated fund, am I going to say that because he couldn't fulfill his 2016 promise, he can't fulfill whatever he's saying? No.
All right, hold on. Let me go to your colleague on the other side. Yes, Steve, you're on the line with us, right?
Yes, please.
Steve, so you will be paid for being an assembly member. Why are you kicking against it? Surely that's positive, isn't it?
Thank you very much. Greetings to all your viewers today, Election Brief 2020. First of all, let me make this clear. The Greater Accra Assembly Members Association, we have not kicked against the promise of being paid as assembly members. What we are basically saying is that the man behind that promise is not a trustworthy person, that we can bet our last coin on his promises to pay assembly members.
So if I get you correctly, you're not kicking against the proposals to be paid, but rather you don't believe that the former president will actually follow up on his promise and pay you.
Fantastic. And these are the reasons. In 2016, the assembly members in the Greater Accra region combed in, or we combed around every presidential aspirants, their promises and what they have for the local government or the local government players. Now, what we realized was that Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo had his promises in his manifesto in 2016. And again, in 2012, we realized that John Dramani Mahama, the then candidate, also had promises in his 2012 manifesto. Now, what we read in that 2012 manifesto of the NDC led by John Dramani Mahama was that he was going to implement the CRC report that gave a framework that assembly members should be considered to be given a remuneration, which he promised that indeed when he's voted for in 2012 to become the president of the republic, he will implement that policy. Unfortunately, or fortunately for Ghanaians, for us assembly members, John Dramani Mahama had the nod to be the president of the republic. 4 years down the lane, that promise of paying or implementing a report that was before him, he couldn't implement those reports or promises. So how would I today in 2020 believe that John Dramani Mahama would promise me as an assemblyman that when he get the nod in 2020 December, he's going to pay assembly members? Now, before any government or any president promises something, the person must have at the back of his or her mind that there is a legal framework or a legal position of the Local Governance Act, Act 936/2016. And let me quote. Section 11 of the Act says that, Section 11.2, it says the emolument of a presiding member of a district assembly and other members of the district assembly shall be determined by the district assembly and paid out of the district's own resources. Now, if John Dramani Mahama is aware of these provisions, he wouldn't have come just verbally and tell me that he's going to pay assembly members and I'll be saying, hooray, it's good, I accept it. No, because he knows that that particular legal provisions must be affected before you promise anything. The reason being that I am an assembly member, and per the Act and the Constitution, we are working voluntarily. So if you are promising salary, it means that now if any officer of the service or in the service, as per public service, must resign his or her position to come and serve as an assembly member before that person can enjoy a salary from the consolidated fund. So basically, the man behind the promise of paying salaries to assembly members is not a trustworthy person that I can bend my last coin and say he keeps his promises. That is why basically we do not want to believe John Dramani Mahama can fulfill his promise as a president when he's giving them.
All right, Steve,
in 2016. I think my other colleague is not getting it right. If I may be allowed to set the record straight, I think my other colleague is not getting the point right. If I may be allowed to set the record straight, one, he never mentioned that he's going to pay a monthly salary. He said allowance. He said he's going to pay a monthly allowance. And again, yes, we are all aware of Local Government Act. That is why he said he's going to make amendments. So once something is illegal or once something is legal, the Constitution also allows you to amend, to make provision for whatever intention that you want to carry on. So if the Constitution says that the emolument of PM and other assembly members are paid from so and so, and now there is no one.
So my brother, maybe you are also not getting something right.
No, honorable.
That person knows very well. That person knows very well that there are constitutional provisions to be changed.
That is why he's saying that.
Steve, allow Mr. Chum to land.
Honorable member, that is why he's saying that he's going to make sure that he's going to amend the death and birth registry so that assembly members will take.
I don't know where the death and birth registry comes in here when you are going to pay assembly members the emolument. And for that matter, the emolument of the district assembly is determined by honorable colleague.
Let's not deviate from what.
So my question is, let me ask you a personal question.
Honorable member.
John Dramani Mahama.
Honorable member. Let us not deviate
on political will when he promised to improve and pay assembly members based on the report submitted to him by the CR Commission. All
right, gentlemen, we'll have to wrap up this conversation, but very quickly, let me ask the both of you. You are on the same page when it comes to remunerating assemblymen.
Sure.
Steve, for you, would you want the current administration to take up this task of paying assemblymen?
You see, let me just take you back a bit. When the MPP led by Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo said he was proposing a referendum to make changes into the elections of the assembly members, some members could not understand the position of the president and they kicked against it. In fact, the fact of the matter is that provisions in the Act and in the Constitution was going to be changed so that assembly members can now be autonomous to be able to decide a better remuneration for its members. Now, today, as an assembly member, I can see my people who used to come and knock at my door asking for school fees, chop box, and whatever for their people. Free SHS is there for me. That has lessened my burden. Now the disability fund has been increased from a little over 1.5% to 3%. The disability are not worrying.
Gentlemen, this is becoming a cacophony. I just want to know from you, Steve, are you opposed to the idea of being paid as an assembly member?
Come again, please.
The question is to Steve, and I'm asking you whether you are opposed to the idea of being paid as an assembly member.
Again, I've made it clear, we are not opposing the idea of being paid as an assembly member.
Very well.
We all deserve a better remuneration.
Very well.
But what we are saying is that to whom much is given, as he quoted at National Theatre, much is expected. He was given much in 2012 and he could not implement it.
All right.
I cannot trust that person to promise me he will pay remuneration for assembly members.
Okay, all right. Many thanks, gentlemen. And that's David Atachum. He is president of the Concerned Assembly Members, and Stephen Kwesi Akwa, who is a member of the Greater Accra Association of Assembly Members. You're still here on Election Brief. Now to the Convention People's Party, which is calling on both the governing NPP and the opposition NDC to cease their constant attacks on the National Peace Council going into the elections. The Peace Council in recent times has been accused of bias in the attempt to mediate and facilitate a peaceful dialogue among feuding political parties. But speaking to JoyNews on the sidelines of a day's advocacy training by the Council on Vigilantism and Related Offences Act in Brekum, the Bono Regional Chairman of CPP, Salifo Doyindoi, wants political parties to assist the Peace Council in deepening the country's democracy.
In this, our dear country, we continue to see a lot of mischief being perpetrated by we Ghanaians, but notable among them the NDC and the MPP. Everything that the state does, it will be accused and criticized by the opposition party. Look at this council, the greatest body that it is mandated by law to make sure they do mediation to bring about peace. And their function transcends just bringing peace, preventing chaos. But any time that these two major political parties, NDC and MPP, they are in power, the one who is in opposition accuses the very person who is in power. And the one in power is always in support of whatever is happening. So time has come, as Ghanaians, we should tell the NDC and the MPP that enough is enough. They should love this country and let us see each other as one body. We should also begin to see each other as the only people that can bring peace. Peace can only manifest itself if we continue to respect this institution. Peace Council needs the support of everybody. If we don't support them, for them to engage us in peace building, always we shall be seeing each other accusing one another, especially the NDC and the MPP who are guilty of it. So it has reached a level whereby we, the members of the Convention People's Party, think that it is time they should be disengaged and rather look at other parties that are peace-loving so that they will engage with these other parties and make sure those parties respect state institutions.
Now, explaining the importance of the training to JoyNews, Executive Secretary of the Bono Regional Peace Council, Swala Kwanda, said if political parties fail to support measures to deal with vigilantism, they could soon capture the state.
The National Peace Council facilitated a roadmap that resulted into a development of a code of conduct for political parties in Accra at the national level. How does the people on the ground take it? Are they even aware of it? And what is contained in this roadmap? What is contained in this code of conduct? It is therefore very important that we do advocacy on these things at the grassroots level so that people will get to know that this is what the government has done, or this is what Parliament has passed in the form of a law to regulate and guide activities of vigilantism, and also how political parties should behave towards elections. Every political party knows that if he should lose an election, he has lost everything. So everything, we do everything possible to win that election, including foul means. And that is one of the reasons that we have vigilantism and political violence. Another issue is that vigilantism is becoming endemic in this country. We are not there yet, but we should not wait to be there. Because if we let it gain some kind of root on the ground, it will lead out to what is called state capture. We will reach a point where it will not only be about MPP or NDC, it will be about that group and the state, because they will want to capture the state, because they will form a coalition forces to fight the state. And that is why it is something very important we deal with it and nib it from the bud, so that it does not degenerate, it does not become so serious, it does not become a monster, so that dealing with it will become very difficult for us.
The breaker. You're still here on Election Brief. Now, let's turn our attention on the Ghana Anti-Corruption Coalition, which has launched what it calls the Citizens Anti-Corruption Manifesto to serve as a basis for conversations on potential anti-corruption reforms. The group wants political parties to embrace the idea to deal with corruption. Head of Programs at the Ghana Anti-Corruption Coalition, Bright Sowu, joins us via Zoom. Many thanks for your time. Now, first of all, what does the Anti-Corruption Manifesto Tracker, what is that all about? Tell us about it.
Good afternoon. I'm sorry to disappoint you. It's not Bright. This is Mary from the Ghana Integrity Initiative.
Thanks for the correction, Mary.
Yes,
good to have you. So tell us what this tracker is all about.
Great. So, Araba, one of the things we have done in the past, that's the Ghana Integrity Initiative and the GACC, has been to track the issues of political parties, particularly when it comes to promises they have made. And so, in the recent elections, or in the past elections, that's 2016, remember we developed a tracker based on which we were looking at what they have said as against what has been implemented. But then to be able to capture it even more concretely, we decided that for this year's election, we wanted the voices of the citizens to represent exactly or to reflect the promises that are made or captured in the manifestos of the various political parties. And so we developed a proposal which the Star Ghana is funding. And the purpose is to ensure that whatever anti-corruption promise is being made is engineered and led by the people of Ghana. And so we went on to do some analysis on the decks, and then we decided to also engage, and we engaged various stakeholders, from people living with disability to traditional authority to faith-based organizations to various citizen groups cutting across the length and breadth of this country. So at the end of the day, the analysis put together what the citizens want, which various governance and anti-corruption experts have reviewed. And based on the document that we produced, it was launched on Wednesday, I think the 26th, and that's the discussion we're having now. Interesting.
So what it is the Citizens Manifesto. Can you give us details of what the citizens are seeking from those who want our mandate to lead them?
Exactly. If I want to capture, the Citizen Manifesto is captured in two specific areas, and one has to do with legislation, what the citizen wants to see when it comes to legislations. And in that regard, we have issues around financial independence of anti-corruption institutions. Again, we want to see, or citizens of Ghana want to see, transparent political party and campaign financing regimes. And in this regard, we have other interventions also seeking to deepen this discussion, because going forward, we believe that if we want to fight corruption head on, then we need to resolve that issue of financing of political parties. Are we regulating it to ensure that there is more transparency, there is more accountability, and there is integrity in the process? Is the Electoral Commission therein capacitated enough to ensure that we are taking care of the audits, or are they collaborating enough with the agencies of states? There are several proposals that came up, including instituting an independent audit agency, that also tracks and monitors and supervises the work of political parties when it comes to their audits and issues of accountability. Citizens as well want to see that it is legislated that when parties start infrastructure projects, these are continued, because we believe governments are continuum. And if that is the case, then we want to see that whatever has started in one regime continues in the next, because the people of Ghana believe we cannot continue to be shortchanged, leaving projects behind 10 years, 20 years, and 30 or thereabouts.
All right.
We also spoke, and it was captured, that one of the issues that needs to be dealt with is the issue around declaration of assets. As the Act stands, Act 550,
right.
We have issues, and we know that in the process or in the pipeline is the Conduct of Public Officers Bill,
yes,
that is seeking to capture the issue of assets as well, but then criminalizing codes that public officers must not engage in. And also,
so that was a programs manager of the Ghana Integrity Initiative, Mary Ada, there, and hopefully the politicians will take a leaf out of that Citizens Manifesto. Moving on, some supporters of the women's wing of the governing MPP in the Bono East region are accusing the parliamentary candidate of the opposition NDC there, Christopher Bayere, of the destruction of some MPP posters at vantage points in the municipality. At a press briefing addressed by the Deputy Regional TESCON Coordinator, Nanekwa Esther, she alleged that some suspected members of the NDC are currently engaged in pulling down MPP billboards and tearing of posters, amongst others. The group says this could lead to political violence if not checked. Correspondent Anna Sabit reports.
The regional women's wing of the ruling New Patriotic Party in the Bono East region is accusing the Techiman South parliamentary candidate of the opposition NDC, Mr. Christopher Bayere, of engaging in a divisive and tribal politics and destruction of campaign posters and billboards of his opponent, among others. At a press conference held by the group and addressed by the Deputy Regional TESCON Coordinator, Nana Ekwia Esther, the team alleged that the Techiman South parliamentary candidate of the NDC is sponsoring party thugs who move at night to destroy posters of the NPP candidate.
Ladies and gentlemen, we believe that politics is about a contest of ideas and choosing credible leaders to serve the people. And so, the NDC candidate must learn to engage in clean campaign rather than what we are witnessing. He has been on high divisive and tribal politics, destruction of campaign billboards and posters of his opponents. We ask, ladies and gentlemen, how can you win elections in this day and age with this status? This is what we call cheap politics. Members of the media, you may again recall the condemnable incident that happened some months ago around the magazine area, where some young men of the Techiman South NDC were caught destroying posters of Honorable Martin J. Mensah Kosa, the peace-loving man, Sompahene.
And that's Sabit's report there, and we will be bringing you more of this in our subsequent bulletin. But that's how we wrap up Election Brief for today and the week. Remember, this is your election headquarters. Later tonight, we'll have the joint caucus, that's the NPP and the NDC, talking about their various policies they intend to implement if re-elected or elected. I'm Barbara Kumson. Have a lovely weekend. Up next is Sports Today.